Dr. Larry Carnes, welcome to Books of the Month. We're excited that you could join us for another powerful and exciting program. You're going to be amazed because we have a very special guest, Terri McCormick. Now, she's a former legislator and congressional candidate, and she's going to give you some insights into this awesome book. Listen to this. What Sex is a Republican? Good morning, Terri. How are you?
Good morning. I know that's a loaded question.
We're excited and so honored to have you with us. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into this fascinating book that you've written.
Well, my journey on my career has taken a number of different roads, from university assistant professor to legislator to curriculum writer, to a doctoral student, and then a PhD in leadership, because I had to ask, after I served in the legislature, are politicians leaders? And
Wow.
my book after this one will address that with a lot of research on what's been happening with real data. But this is my seminal work. This is where I decided I needed to really do something to change the system. It was initially released over a decade ago. The only thing I would change in this book, as I've been contacted by so many people to come and speak to their universities and business groups, is the fact that now independent journalists have incredible weight.
Okay.
Back a decade ago, it was the political hacks that just simply wanted to tear somebody down that were online. Now we have very credible people out there making a difference. So I need to mention that, because I might have people that are a little put off by my interpretation a decade ago.
Well, Terri, when it comes to being an author, many times truth will offend. So people are going to be offended by truth. I have this thing, can you go from truth received to truth received? They say, well, what does that mean? Well, you can hear the truth, you received it, but will you apply it? When you hear it, it's received, but will you receive it and apply the truth that you have? Now, it's fascinating. You're an advocate for political and governmental reform and change. Now, that's a powerful statement. An advocate for change. And then here, something that's a very powerful statement you made, and this thing just resonated when I was reading the book, resonated with me. There's only one way to change what's taking place. We, the people, must take responsibility for what our government has become while we weren't looking. Come on, tell people about this fascinating book.
Absolutely. When I was elected, well, first of all, I have to say this: how you run for office, and this is in the third section of my book, how you run and who you're beholden to and where you get your campaign donations will control you if you allow it when you're elected.
Powerful.
For me, I was talked into running by former students. I was asked to come on board in a private school system to write leadership curriculum for students who were having a hard time in the sit and get format. I understood immediately that they were leaders and needed to have their skills sharpened in speaking, in confidence, and debating. Which student doesn't want to learn how to debate well?
Yes.
A leader wants to know how to debate well.
Yes.
So these students then went on to university and law school, and they showed up on my door and they said, "You've got to walk your talk. You've been telling us how to be leaders and showing us. Now we want you and we will run your campaign. So I had a group of volunteer university and high school students with me making lists, and they of course wanted to block me from those lists, so we made our own, and we went door to door to door to door with literature I wrote and had a neighbor design.
That's
Now,
powerful.
the money
You impacted the lives of these people from a positive perspective that they came to you and said, not only do we need you, but our country, our community, our people need you. That is so powerful.
And that's why I ran in the first place. So my perspective when I went in was from the numerous notebooks of notes that we took going door to door, listening to folks as to what was going on. Now, my book also shares how I did things differently and what I found. For example, you have money-driven politics, and
Yes.
President Reagan liked to call that the second oldest profession looks like the first oldest profession, and that's what I found.
Yes.
You have people who are bought, and you have people who are trying to make a difference. And I have to say, 5% wanted to follow what I did. There were idealistic staffers that tried to upset the establishment. But this book is all about walking my talk, what I did when I found the mess in government. And I have to tell you, I evidently so intimidated the upper establishment in my political party that they flew in Dick Cheney to campaign against me in my congressional race. And then they ended up flying in the president, George W. Bush, in a primary.
Wow. Yes, yes, yes. Now, I like to say this, culture, that's our greatest challenge.
Yes.
The culture of a thing, because that culture, once that culture is set, that culture becomes the opposition. So you were dealing with culture that had been established, but you also said something, there has to be transformation. There has to be reform, and you were an advocate for that, and you stepped up. Now, when you talk about a leader, I'm thinking of principled leaders and situational leaders. And what I'm hearing from you, Terri, is that you stepped up and decided to be a principled leader. Now, how challenging was that in the midst of the opposition that you're facing?
Now you're getting to why I wrote the book. I spent so much time journaling what was going on in order to make sense of the fog of politics, the games that were being played behind the scene, that these journal notes I needed to make sense of and write my journey in politics. I would have friends call me on my drive into the Capitol, and they would say things to me like, Terri, hitch your principles to the cross and stick to them. We're behind you. Or I would have people calling me and saying, we need you there. Keep going. And, I have to tell you, you have to dig so far inside your heart to keep going in what you believe is right, because you are fighting against a storm. Now, there's other folks in other elections that created seismic shifts that I'll talk about in my book after this one. But this particular book, I was so honored because the winner of the 2016 presidential race's son actually promoted this book.
Wow.
I know that he's read it, or at least his son has read it. And there are many, I don't want to say I'm the only one, but there are many individuals now who understand what my main message was in the book, and that is The only way to change the system is us. The
Wow.
government is you. It's all of us together. And if we want to change the culture of a few individuals who believe it's right to be bought and not make principled decisions and use market-driven economics and the Constitution as the guide, then we, the people, need to step up. Because
That
there's
is powerful. You know,
more of us.
yes, there has to be a reformation of clarity. And we have to get back to those basic principles and those foundational things that made our country what it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
And that you've addressed it. We strayed away from that. That is so powerful. And so you're talking about transformation. And when you're talking about transformation from an established system, I like to say this, there's going to be blood on the floor. And many times it's the person's blood who's fostering that transformation. You've experienced that when the opposition came against you. Tell us this, share with our viewing audience how they can get in touch with you, how they can get the book, if there's a website. Take about a minute and share that information because it's so very important. I'm fascinated. What sex is a Republican? The title just grabs me.
You know, the reason why I went with that title is because I wanted people to think about, is it pointing fingers at men and women? Is it pointing fingers at personal identity? It's none of the above. It's a political animus, an animal that grips individuals who are, I can only phrase it this way, who are hungry and dripping for power because they don't have in their heart the belief that they can make a difference as an individual.
Wow. They don't believe they can make a difference. And you're an encourager to help them understand that they can make a difference. I hear that Terri doesn't value her product over the people. She values the people over the product.
Absolutely.
Tell people how they can get in touch with you, the website. Very quick, about 30 seconds.
Okay. www.Terri, Dr. or Dr. Terri McCormick.com is the website. Also, you can take a look at Amazon. They are posting my book there. We will, be sure to get it out in different venues and in the stores. And take a look at this book because it's the first step to understanding where I'm going. My second book is going to be all about what is happening right now and how it was we had this seismic shift in 2016.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're excited. Thank you all for joining us for Books of the Month. Don't go any place because we're going to be right back. Terri, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.